Deadheading is basically cutting off the flower heads of spent flowers. It mostly started because I think people didn't like the looks of the flowers that were done blooming. But when you do that, you're also removing the ability of the plant to reseed itself, which is going to be where the seeds are developed on the old flowers. Now, I don't do all flowers. I think everybody has their own choice of which ones they want to do. The ones I do are the ones with bulbs, rhizomes, or corms, because these usually reproduce vegetatively in the roots. Like daffodils right here is a perfect example. So, and these are my favorite pruners to use for that. You should have a nice sharp pruner so you're not tearing the stem. You can actually see here where the seeds are developing right here. So in cutting that off, what you're doing is you're telling the plant to make the root bigger rather than producing by seeds. And the reason is when it comes to these bulbs here, like on these daffodils, then the seeds are not going to be viable anyway. So basically, you're telling the plant, don't waste your energy making seeds. Grow your bulb bigger. So that's basically what I'm doing today. And here is some more. And you can see how this area right here where the seeds are forming starts to swell. And here the flower is still intact. And here's this area right here, which will become the place where the seeds are formed. So here's more, and you can see how the seeds are forming right there at the base of the flower. And it's completely up to you which ones you want to do. Some people do get flowers with seed heads because maybe they don't want the flowers dropping seeds everywhere and having a whole bunch of them. I kind of like flowers that have a whole bunch of them everywhere. But this is an example of what you can do by deadheading these daffodils, because originally right here was only one bulb, and so it has grown to this big huge batch here because every year I've deadheaded, so it doesn't waste its time and energy making seeds. Same with all these. Each one of these was like 1, 2, 3. So 3 bulbs in 2 years it's made all these. And so you don't need to waste a lot of time about it. Just do whatever you want to do. Kind of a nice day out in the garden. Just out here looking at things. I like these pruning shears because they work great. Sometimes when you have ones that stick a lot, it takes longer to do this, but look how easy these open and close. So that's one thing right there. So I just kind of walk along looking at all the flowers, and when I see one that's done blooming, I just snip the dead blooms off. Some people call those spent blooms. Here is a perennial, Dicentrospectrabilis, bleeding heart. And I don't bother with deadheading those. I don't even remember seeing seed heads on this, but look at how this plant has grown over the years from just a few, or a small little start that I bought from one of the seed companies a few years back. So I'm just walking along looking for bulbs that need to be deadheaded or have the old flowers cut off. And here's a bunch more. These are mostly daffodils because daffodils bloom first ahead of tulips. Tulips all have their own schedule, because you can see here these tulips are still blooming, whereas the daffodils are mostly done. But I like trimming off the spent blooms so that they'll multiply and make more daffodils. Like I said, this here was originally just one daffodil, and by deadheading it each year and telling it not to waste your time building making seeds, because making seeds takes a lot of the plant's energy. So by cutting off the seed head, then it can spend all of that energy it would otherwise expend making seeds. It spends that energy making the roots bigger. And in the case of daffodils, they're bulbs, making the bulbs bigger. These tulips are still blooming. That's a big tulip. Look at that. It just rained yesterday and last night. It sprinkled all day yesterday, and it's even sprinkling right now. It doesn't really bother if you go out and work in the yard when it's sprinkling. It's actually the best time of all to be moving your plants around. If you got any you want to move around, this is a great time. This is I think May 6th. Look at the poppies back here getting ready to bloom. In a few days, that bloom will open up into a big red poppy. There's another one right there. There's another one right there. Okay. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.